Brother DMG the poet. Y'all know what it is. Before we get into our spiel, I got to do my spiel. Let me say God bless to all my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say Hotep to my Kemetic brothers and sisters. I want to say Shalom or Shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say Assalamu Alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in the NOI. I want to say Islam to all my Moorish brothers and sisters. I want to say peace to all my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. I want to say what's up to all my Rasta brothers and sisters. Salute to all my atheist brothers and sisters. What's up to all my Abo brothers and sisters. Big what up to all my Naga brothers and sisters. Last and certainly not least, I want to say Jambo to all the rest of my brothers and sisters all throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you black, I'm with you. And I hope that you with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting. We can have unity without uniformity. And guess what, family? As hard as it may be, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. With that being said, family, let's get into it.
The opinions and perspectives shared by our guests and debaters on Paradigm Shift TV 314 and the Versus series are their own. They do not necessarily represent the views of the platform. We support open dialogue and critical thought, but encourage viewers to think for themselves.
The following music is performed by the Musical Messiah, aka the most dangerous Bible believer. Please be advised by how hard it hits.
Wanna have to do it, 'cause if you do it, you gon' have to prove it, you gon' lose it. Nigga, living life in my paradigm, shifting time from one state of mind. Something like the truest, yes sir, I can prove it. Go ahead, bring the hallelujah to the back up on the beat, back up on the sweet, pack up all who speak that on O&E. You don't wanna have to do it, 'cause if you do it, you gon' have to prove it, you gon' lose it. Nigga, living life in my paradigm, shifting time from one state of mind. Something like the truest, yes sir, I can prove it. Go ahead, bring the hallelujah to the back up on the beat, back up on the sweet, pack up all who speak that on O&E. You might know that neo-love, but neo-love O&E above. Switching lanes in the turning lane, old school, no roof above. Carpool, no room for her, bitch, you cartoons, we kids it up. We check the sources, you listen to voices, you are not living like us. You say you creeping in houses and all of the monsters is living in fearing of us. Pussy, we are not monsters and we are not pouncing and we are not giving a fuck. We up the score on you niggas, we done outgrowed all you niggas, nigga. Yeah, with DM the G, Craig and the Craig and nobody. They saying Judah the Nash, but he be trash. Bring me the bag. Why the fuck would you brag with? No, you ain't living that bad. You are not rad. I take your choices and put them inside of a bag. Smoke them like hash. Then dump out the ash and not a pussy on the crash. You don't wanna have to do it, 'cause if you do it, you gon' have to prove it, you gon' lose it. Nigga, living life in my paradigm, shifting time from one state of mind. Something like the truest, yes sir, I can prove it. Go ahead, bring the hallelujah to you. Back up on the beat, back up on the sweet, pack up all who speak that on O&E. You don't wanna have to do it, 'cause if you do it, you gon' have to prove it, you gon' lose it. Nigga, living life in my paradigm, shifting time from one state of mind. Something like the truest, yes sir, I can prove it. Go ahead, bring the hallelujah to you. Back up on the beat, back up on the sweet, pack up all who speak that on O&E.
All right, it's your brother DMG the Poet, aka Brother Pianki, and we are back with another banger. I keep telling y'all, the Versus series is live in 2025. We bringing powerful guests after powerful guests for y'all. And this brother, the Islamic Intimidator, reached out to me and said, I want in on this Versus series thing. So here he is throwing his hat in the ring. So I want all the Versus series debaters and watchers to be on notice. We got a new player in the midst. That being said, my brother, please introduce yourself to the Paradigm Shift TV 314 and Versus series audience.
First of all, I'd just like to say greetings to everyone around the world and everyone in the chat. My name is Isa Al-Askari. I am best as described as an esoteric Shia, which compromises of a lot of different paths and strings that all lead to the same destination. I am not a tunnel vision person. I don't believe in one exact way. And when I say that, I mean that I don't say my way is the only way, and you cannot get to your ultimate destination in the afterlife if you don't follow my way. That is a hint of arrogance that I do not possess. The only thing that I totally disagree with is the worship of more than one God. So other than that, I'm pretty open-minded.
All right. All right. Y'all heard it here. So listen, the brother hit me up and said he want in on this Versus series thing. So my first question to you, my brother, is this. What was it about what we doing in the Versus series that piqued your interest, and how long have you been in these debate streets and YouTube?
Well, I've been on and off of YouTube for about 7 years now. The thing that perked me up about the Versus series is just the respectful dialogue between everybody. The people that I follow, the 12 Imams of Shia Islam, they had open discussions with people from all over the world. The sixth Imam, Jafar al-Sadiq, peace and blessings be upon him, he had open discussions and had a class with people from all walks of life, atheists, Hindus, Christians, Hebrews. It didn't matter. Hellenic thought, anybody who was willing to search for knowledge, he had class with. So, and he had class with them in a respectful manner. So that is the way that the person that I follow goes about these intellectual debates. That is the way that I'm going to go about it. And Paradigm Shift TV sparked me as a place for not just debates, but mutual conversation and swapping of ideas. Because you never ever grow too old to learn something. And you're never too old to learn something from anybody, whether that be a young person, old person, or even a child.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And you said you described yourself as an esoteric. What was it Sunni or Shia?
Shia.
Shia. Okay. Okay. Can you go a little further into that for us, if you don't mind?
Well, if you had to put a technical label on it, I would say, and this is just for on the record, people can look up these terms. I would describe myself as far as line of thought as a Moorish Shia that has Usuli and Neo-Akbari tendencies. And Usuli and Akbari are two schools of thought within the main school of thought of Shia Islam. One takes a literalistic approach, and one takes a more esoteric and an open approach to rules approach. So I'm a mixture of the two. I'm not tied down by anything. As I said, my imams taught and spoke to everybody. So my form of Islam follows the form of monotheism that comes from, and it doesn't matter what faith, that prophet, their family, and their successors, whoever they named as their successor. And my line of thought follows that line of thought as the same thing as when Moses was alive, he bequeathed things to Aaron, even though Aaron died before him, and then it was bequeathed to Joshua. Same thing with Christ. Christ bequeathed his successorship and authority over to Peter. He said, upon Peter, I build my church. So, and it's the same thing with the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him and every other of the prophets. He bequeathed his successorship and authority to Imam Ali. So that is the path that I follow, the path of the bloodline and the true successorship.
Got you. How much opposition do you find yourself having from our NOI brothers as it relates to your particular brand of Islam, in contrast to theirs?
Well, one of my cousin is a part of the Nation of Islam, Mosque number 3. I actually went to their Sunday service last weekend, and the NOI has come a long way from where they first started. Now you see things like Louis Farrakhan. He went to Iran, which is the hub of Shia Islam, the capital of Shia Islam. So he went to Iran. You see, like, sometimes in their services, they have quotes from certain, what we call marja, which is, theological figures in Shia Islam. But they'll have quotes from marja. I've even seen them using quotes of the 12 imams, and it may be to justify their position, but they're still using Shia Islamic thought to justify their position. So they are, I really don't have too much of a conflict with them, because my train of thought is Islam sometimes changes depending on the condition of the people of where they're at. So even though I might not 1000% agree with them theologically, at the same time, they're striving for goodness. That's not my job to judge them. My job is to inform them and lead them with evidence to the right path. But my job is not to judge them. That's a Allah's job. That's not my job. So, like I said, even though we disagree with some things theologically, the nation has put in a lot of work to help the Black American, and that's something that you can never take away from.
Understood and agreed. Understood and agreed. All right, so now we're about to get into what's become known in this Versus series community and paradigm shift as the DMG questions. So let's. Is it fair to say that your ideology blends Islamic, Moorish, esoteric, Shiism, ancient Freemasonry, and a little bit of Black Israelite theology? Is it fair to say that, number one? And then second, how do you reconcile these different traditions into a single unified worldview? And what are the key spiritual or metaphysical truths that connect them in your mind? And if you need me to repeat any part of that question, let me know.
Yes, sir. I would say that the fundamental truth that all the prophets brought are the same. All are the same. There is one God. There is one God. You might have a different set of rules from, okay, this people that's in America back 2,000-3,000 years ago versus the people that were in the so-called Holy Lands. You know what I mean? So everything for me ties together because all prophets, like I said, taught the same fundamental truth. And then when you look into the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, the teachings never told you to have tunnel vision and be stuck on one thing. The only thing to have tunnel vision on is that there's one God, only one God that is worthy to be worshiped. But everything else is open to interpretation. The Prophet Muhammad in his time said, seek knowledge, even if it be in China. Now, he said that during his time. In China, there were 0 Muslims at his time. And he's telling the community, even if that knowledge be in China, in a land that has nothing to do with me as of yet, because there were no Muslims in China in the 600s. You know what I'm saying? So if he tells you to seek knowledge, even if it is there, where there is not even a single Muslim, then that would mean that it is only arrogance to deny knowledge or deny a people because they do not share your worldview. The Quran says that verily the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, verily whoever believes in your Lord and in the revealed scriptures will all have their reward from their Lord on the day of judgment. The Quran did not say, oh, only the Muslims or only this path. It said the Christians, the Jews, and the Sabians. And then when you look into Islamic hadith, particularly for the Imams, Allah judges based on a person's path and that they were raised up in. The only knock against a human being, as far as Allah, that standpoint goes, is if you hear the truth, know it's the truth, and then deny the truth. That is the difference. But everybody is judged according to their own remit. Remit meaning their own situation, because there's still remote tribes existing today in this world that have no so-called civilized world contacts at all, and never heard of a Muhammad, never heard of a Jesus, never heard of a Hebrew, never heard of Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, none of that. They just have their tribal ways. That person will be judged according to who came to them and who was a beacon for God and that spark of life for Allah in their midst. You know what I mean? So it's all on knowledge. And Allah is the judge of that, not a human being.
Understood. Understood. And so a follow-up to that would be this. Do you believe these traditions share a common origin, or were they meant to converge over time?
Most of these traditions share a common origin. Even if you go back to ancient Kemet and ancient Sumerian doctrine, in every group of people, there has always been a people or a person that says there is only one God, ultimate influence, only one force that is ultimate above all other forces, no matter which way those teachings came through. So it is all linked together in that aspect. Like I said, cultural traditions and methodologies may be different between people because different people describe things different ways according to their language and also their mindset. So Allah is the Lord of the worlds, and he deals with people, everybody, according to the way he revealed himself to them. As the saying goes in the Islamic sayings, Allah created over 18,000 worlds, in which we were one of the last. So that tells you the scope of everything. and the depth of everything. True knowledge as a human being, most human beings, it is equated in Islamic Shia Hadith as a drop of water in an ocean. That is how much most of the average human being encompasses knowledge in his or her lifetime. So, like I said, there's so many things that is open.
Yeah, and I remember hearing something similar, a similar saying in Kemetic thought when I was studying in the Kemetic temple, like, in terms of a drop of water being the same consistency as the ocean, et cetera. So it's interesting that you have similar sayings in both of those traditions. So my second question is this: as one who embraces esoteric Shia Islam, how do you interpret the roles of figures like Imam Ali and Alul Bayat, if I said that correctly, in relation to the hidden or mystical knowledge emphasized in Freemasonry and Moorish science?
Number one, the noble Drew Ali, you see he was blessed with that title of Ali. Ali is a very special title. In every name, especially Islamic names, if you have the name of an attribute of Allah, out of reverence of Allah, you will see Abdul in front of that attribute. So Abdul Jabbar and Abdul Hamad, out of reverence of not taking that holy name and putting it as your own. Imam Ali was the first person ever to be named as an attribute of Allah. Ali meaning the Aliyun, the Most High. So that is a mark. Also, the fact that he was the only person born inside of the Kaaba. And that is a very huge deal. And I understand what you were trying to say. The Ahlul Bayt. The Ahlul Bayt is the people of the house. They are in the Quran. When it refers to them, and Allah tells them that He wants to cleanse away from them every impurity. And they are the people of knowledge as far as the people of Ishmael. The way that I reconcile this is just in the history in itself. I started out as a Sunni Muslim, and as far as my trip into Orthodox Islam, and as I dwelled deeper and deeper and deeper into the Hadith, some things that I found disturbed me. And I'm saying that to say this. There's a Hadith within Sunni books. They have 6 canonical works, which they regard as what they call the Sahih Sitta. And those works, the main 2 are Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. They believe in those Hadith books so much that they put Sahih, sound and good, in front of it like it's perfect. But yet within those books, I found Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad, which would say, one such example is, after me, I will leave behind 12 caliphs, caliphs meaning rulers, all from my family, all from the Quraysh. So in my mind at the time, I'm like, okay, who are these 12 caliphs? Because if you go through the Islamic period and you go through the 20, 30 something Umayyad rulers, you go through the Abbasid rulers, and you go through all these different caliphs that got set up after the Prophet Muhammad's passing, and you go, okay, the Prophet said 12. He didn't say 20. He didn't say 30. He didn't say 40. So when I'm looking through these characters of all these different caliphs, it was like, okay, this one was a murderer. This one was a massive fornicator and basically a pimp. Like, okay, this can't be this person. This person killed his grandson and chopped his head off. Like, okay, so I know it's not that person. So then when you dig into the history and you find out what happened, and it's like, okay, this is not right. And history always repeats itself, just like Moses and was the Israelite line was gifted with the 12 tribes of Israel. Even in the Bible, it tells you that there were 12 tribes of Ishmael, and it doesn't go any farther into it, you know. And what I call it the religious racism, because you know people, particularly of the Jewish line of thought, they be like, no, it was given to Isaac, it was given to Isaac, it was given to Isaac, and but at the same time, in the books that they downplay and that they took out of the works of the Bible, such as like the book of Jasher, upon Abraham's death, him and Ishmael, Isaac and Ishmael buried him. And that's even in the regular Bible. It tells you that Isaac and Ishmael buried Abraham. But in the book of Jasher, you find out that Abraham went to go see his son on multiple occasions. Just like if you have a son, you like, okay, I'm gonna go see my son. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you listen to the narrative of some, I ain't gonna say all, but some of our Israelite brothers, it's like he just said, hey, you and your mama kick rocks till your toes bleed. I never want to see you again because I'm basically a punk when it comes to my wife. That's what it seemed like. But in this other book, you say, nah, he still had a relationship with his son. He went to see him, and as a matter of fact, when he died, both of his sons buried him. That's interesting, because in the narrative you usually get, it's like, man, dude, like what is? I be like, is this y'all king? Like y'all, this dude that just
they make him into a punk and a deadbeat.
Yeah. Like the woman who told him to smash old girl, then tell him to get rid of her, and he do it. Like, come on, man. If that's the weakest. So I'm glad you highlight that, because that's something I didn't know, because I'm not into a lot of the extra books, because most people tell you those extra books aren't to be taken seriously, but I think they add a layer of they add more depth to not only the story, but to these characters, or if you view them as historical beings to these people. Because if you just go off the narrative that most people give you, that's not somebody you want to admire.
And also, you know, we get into the fact, don't get me wrong, I have my troubles with Muslims also, because I am of the viewpoint through my studies that all Arabs are not descendants of Ishmael.
Mm.
That is a big lie. The Prophet Muhammad even said that Islam will be overrun with white Turks and Persians, and that to the point where you will see very little of the true original Arabs among them.
Wow.
There is a lot of evidence, because even if you just look logically, right, when Ishmael went to those the lands of Arabia, the desert lands, unless Ishmael laid down and made love to every single Arab woman over there, you guys are not all descendants of Ishmael. The Arabs were already there.
Right.
So there's a particular line of Ishmael that is there. And even when you go to like Yemen is it has a long and strong line of true Arabs there in Yemen. A lot of the Yemenis look like black people with good hair, as they say. A black curly top. That's how their aesthetic is. So the true line of Ishmael was suppressed. Just like when Christ, went away and Peter was supposed to take the reins, the lot of the people didn't follow Peter. The lot of the people followed Paul, who never walked with Christ, who never seen Christ, whose claim to having seen Christ comes from the side of a mountain, and who wrote half of the New Testament with never seeing Christ. And it is the same thing that happened. I said, as they say, history always repeats itself with Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad left certain people, a certain person in charge, and the people chose otherwise. That is one of the reasons why it's so cursed over there at this present time, because of what they did to the prophet's family and their denial of the instructions that he left. He told the Muslims, he said, I leave among you two weighty things. If you hold on to them, you will never go astray, because these two things will not separate from me until they meet me in the spring of paradise by Kauthar. Kauthar is a spring in paradise. He said, number one, the Kitab Allah, the Book of Allah, the Quran, and my Ahlul Bayt, and the people of my house. And then he said three times, beware of how you treat my Ahlul Bayt. Beware of how you treat my Ahlul Bayt. Beware of how you treat my Ahlul Bayt. He said these things three times because he is a prophet. He is already foretold and given the knowledge of what you are going to do. But that's not his job to stop it. His job is to give you the warning and to give the message from Allah onto what you should follow after his departure and what is going to happen to the nation if you do not follow that. They chose not to follow that, so now they've been ruled by oppressors and tyrants. And even if you go onto what's happening in today's context, all of the Sunni countries are all mostly in bed with the West. And when I say the West, I mean the good old boy club of the dominant society who wants to rule the world. They're all in bed. The only people that are fighting against the oppressors over there in that land, besides the like the Palestinians themselves, because they're at war with the state of Israel, but the only people fighting oppression and Western imperialism is the Shia, no matter what sect of Shia Islam it is. Yemen, Zaidi Shia. Lebanon, Shia. Iran, Shia. Every other country from almost every other sect has laid down, and they're controlled, they're puppets.
Man, hey, you going in, and I see people in the chat saying this brother on point. Listen, I'm gonna go into my third question because I want to be able to hurry up and open this thing up. So, Black Israelites often emphasize the reclaiming of lost tribal identity and divine inheritance. How does Moorish, I should say, Moorish Islamic identity affirm or challenge the narrative of Hebrew lineage? And what role do you believe we as Black Americans or African Americans play in prophetic or spiritual destiny?
Well, I see it as the line of two tribes, the tribe of Ishmael and the tribe of Isaac, or Jacob, Israel, as they would call it. For the most part, they are right. The darker peoples of the earth are, and particularly certain groups, are Hebrews and the true Hebrews, not Jewish Hebrews. I have no problem with that. The only issue that I have, like when I was talking to one Hebrew Israelite brother, right? And the brother said, Prophet Muhammad never foretold any prophecy. He never foretold any prophecy. Name a prophecy. How are you a prophet and he didn't foretell any prophecy? I said, okay, I'll give you one right now. And this was written thousands of years ago. And this is one that you can find in versions in Sunni and Shia Hadith books. And I call it an exact prophecy because there is no doubt that this is prophecy. And you can confirm this by looking up this Hadith and seeing when it was recorded and verifying that it was recorded thousands of years ago. The Prophet Muhammad said, you will know you are near the end of time when a brother in the East will be able to talk and communicate with his brother in the West from the palm of his hand.
Oh, wow.
He said that thousands of years ago. That's an exact prophecy. He said that during the end of time, man will ride upon a metal bird who will announce the coming and going of its passengers. Just like Solomon rode on the carpet.
Wow. Now
So
that's
the brother was like, man, I don't believe that. So I showed him. He was like, man, well, you know, he could have been demon possessed. It even says that in the Hadith books that he thought he was demon possessed. I said, it says that in Sunni Hadith books. The true successor of Prophet Muhammad, his family says otherwise. See, Islam was corrupted just like Hebrew Israelism was corrupted and co-opted by a certain lighter hue of people. Because now when you go or you see Arabs, everyone's talking about they are descendants of Ishmael, and they look like with the proper haircut, they could be fat Justin Biebers. How is that a true Arab? You may be an Arab because you speak Arabic, and this is your given and your home language. But a true Arab, as far as a descendant of Ishmael style Arab, is undoubtedly a dark person. Ishmael, number one, Abraham was from where? Abraham was from what they call modern day Mesopotamia. That is why they call him Ur of Chaldea. Ur of Chaldea. Chaldea is modern Mesopotamia. Modern Mesopotamia is the Iraq area, because all of that was considered Western Asia or an extension of Africa before the lighter hue people separated it with the Suez Canal and named it the Middle East. Ishmael was a dark person because his father was from Mesopotamia, which had darker hued people for the longest before, you know, the being overtaken by lighter hued people. And his mother was a Nubian woman named Hajar. So he is undoubtedly even blacker than his brother Isaac, because Isaac's mother is Sarah. She's from the same place that Abraham is from. You know, she's from the same place.
Hey,
Ishmael has more black in his genes. His mother is from Nubia, Sudan.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. You digging into some people's chest right now. You digging into some people's chest.
And here we go.
You just said Ishmael is blacker than Isaac. And I know you digging into some people's chest, but I'm gonna let you continue. I just had to acknowledge that I heard that body blow. I heard it echo.
And it's not a disrespect. It is an analyzation of the facts. Because if you have two people of the same culture have a child, and one person of that culture also has a child with a Nubian woman, who is blacker? The person who is from 100% from Mesopotamia, or the person that has a Nubian mother?
Man, listen. Why you doing this, brother? Why you doing this, man? Why you doing this over here, man? Why you doing this?
But it's not a shot. It's not a shot. It's just analyzing the facts and the way that the Jewish Bible, and when I say the Jewish Bible, because that line of thought really comes from them, that Ishmael was so hateful of his brother. It wasn't Ishmael being hateful of his brother. It was Sarah being hateful of Ishmael, because they call Isaac the firstborn. But how are you the firstborn and you weren't born first? How does that work?
Hey, man, look, see, this was a Modelo Negra night. I wouldn't messing with no Hennessy tonight. But you done made me I'm about to pour the Hennessy, man.
Oh no, brother.
Because you digging into these brothers' chests, and I know I'm gonna hear about it. My brother Captain K from ISUPK. It's a lot of Israelites that frequent the channel, and they're gonna be like, "What is this brother talking about?" Ishmael was darker than. Oh man, this bro, what you got this bro? Hey man, now I got to hear all the. I'm about to get phone calls, inboxes. Even though I know I'm wrong, man. Hennessy make a brother think he's strong, man.
How about this? How about this? I'll give you another one. Prophet Muhammad was a Hebrew.
What you trying to do, man?
Check this out. A Hebrew is what? A Hebrew, for one, the Hebrew means the one who crossed over. Because Abraham wasn't a Hebrew. Abraham was called a Hebrew because he crossed over. He was the first person with that title. So Hebrew is anyone who is descended from Abraham. So Ishmael is not descended from Abraham?
Oh man. Hey, listen. To all my Mashallah, Captain K, KOT, to all my Israelite brothers within the sound of my voice, listen, man, I'm just gonna hit this button because I want to be off the hook. This is the Islamic Intimidator y'all got to deal with, not DMG. Let me just do this.
The opinions and perspectives shared by our guests and debaters on Paradigm Shift TV, 314, and the Versus series are their own. They do not necessarily represent the views of the platform. We support open dialogue and critical thought, but encourage viewers to think for themselves.
Hey, this ain't my fault. So I'm off the hook. Listen, the brother is putting his demonstration down and he wants the smoke. So I just want everybody to be aware. This ain't DMG saying this. This is the Islamic Intimidator. I told y'all he wanted to smoke. I should have started out with Hennessy. I thought it was going to be an easy night, but this brother bringing the thunder. He say Ishmael was darker than Isaac. Ah, man. Let me go to my third question, man. I should say my fourth question, but really I got to follow up to my third question. Do you see the transatlantic slave trade as a spiritual event or divine consequence in the larger redemptive story?
I would say that is a little bit of divine consequence, but I would also say, I'm not saying that the transatlantic slave trade did not happen. What I would say is that most of those slaves were not brought to America. Most of the darker people were already here. If you look at it from the point of, if you're a slave master, would you go on a 3 to 4 month trip there and back to Africa to grab slaves, lose a lot of them? Because if you look at the pictures of how they try to say we were packed in the bottoms of ships like sardines in a can. Number one, so you're telling me you packed all these people like sardines in a can on a 3 to 4 month trip with no modern technology, no restrooms, no shower, no access to fresh water. Because what are they drinking on this 3 to 4 month trip? Are they drinking seawater? You can't survive on seawater. So I'm asking the question of, how did these people all get over here? Or as that slave master, am I just going to take the people that are already here, defeat them and make them slaves and take their history away from them? That is what really happened. Even when you go into, I wouldn't say commonly known, but commonly known among people who study this subject, the Walter Plecker effect. Because my great grandmother, she on heard on the census, it says Black Seminole Indian. Then on the next census, once the Walker Plecker thing went into effect, now she comes from a Seminole Indian to a Negro. How does your race change? I've just never seen that before. How does your race change? So
Oh, man.
the majority of the brothers and sisters were already here. When
Hey, bro, you know our versus series undefeated, undisputed world champion is a Pan-African atheist. Hey, man, you was coming over here kicking down the door, upsetting a lot of people, bro. I just want you to be aware. Go ahead.
It's okay. I do not mind Pan-Africanism. I don't mind it when it's a two-way street. When it's a two-way street, Pan-Africanism is good. What I am saying, and this just goes into that subject, not to go too off topic, but this goes to that. I believe that us as foundational Black Americans, we need to focus on us. Our ancestors already marched with other groups and spoke for other groups. Our ancestors are the ones that got the 14th Amendment passed, which enabled other groups to even come over here, because Africans and different Spaniard people and everybody else wasn't allowed over here until that passed. And that was because of us. So when you look at these things and you go to these, like say the Congressional Black Caucus, for instance, when you trying to get something passed for our lineage of people and trying to get necessarily things for us, that is a debt that is owed. And then you have somebody that looked exactly like us, but shoot that down. And then when you dig deeper, you find out, okay, this person is a Caribbean. This person is an African. This person is just a Black Spaniard person, a Black Spanish person. And it's like, okay, you do not have the relationship with the land and the politics that our lineage of people do because of what we've been through. So we have to get you out and get you moved around from speaking for us because it's detrimental. I don't know any place that I could go to on this planet in the darker countries, whether it be Africa or Brazil or whatever, and go stick my nose in those people's business and shoot down something that they have planned for their people. They'd run me up out of there, and rightfully so. So I feel the same way that we should run people who do not stick up and is not on code with us and our plans. Everybody wants to be a Black American and take the aesthetics of being a Black American. But when they win something, they don't say they're Black American. When they win something or they're applauded for something, then I'm this, I'm that, I'm Jamaican, I'm Haitian. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they will cosplay as us to get to where they're going, and then forget that you was wearing the same style as clothes as the average ninja in the hood. And now when you get your awards and you get applauded, now all of a sudden you this, you that, you not that no more.
Oh, man.
Are you not entertained?
So I believe that we should stick up for our people.
Shame.
And I believe that,
Shame.
the same way as they don't have no
Shame.
business in our business,
Shame.
we have no business in their business. The brother Ibrahim Traore, I support the brother 100%. Stand on business. But inside his country, I wouldn't dare have a say on anything inside his country or with his people. Out of respect for their culture and what they're going through, And he gives the same respect. The man ain't never said anything bad about Black Americans and has always showed support. But my issue is when you have something to say bad about us, and we have marched and cheered for everybody problem and issue. Because the South African apartheid thing, nobody really cared about that until FBA artists and FBA people decided, hey man, listen, it may be none of our business, but we know how y'all is. We know how y'all do darker people. You ain't finna do them like that. Not on our watch. We gonna expose you to the whole world. We'll tear everything up. You're not gonna do them like that. The same thing when Benito Mussolini was going to invade Ethiopia. It was Black Americans signing up to go over there and fight. Hey man, you ain't finna do them like that. But let me ask something. When we get done a certain way in this country by the dominant society, who of them is coming over there riding and willing to die for us?
I knew you was coming with. I knew you was gonna ask that, man. Hey, it's an old saying in the old town, old style black church I attend, and shout out to Pastor Eugene Garrison. May he rest in peace. He used to say, "If you can't say amen, say ouch." Hey, that's an ugly face moment right there. Who? Is you become an owl? Who? I don't know who. I don't know who. Talk black to me.
You had some solid, foreigner brothers, that came and was solid. Like say the Honorable Marcus Garvey, very honorable immigrant West Indian brother, very honorable. The most respect to that brother and what he did for the darker peoples of the world. But you see, to get things popping, he came to Black America. He didn't stay within his realm and get it popping. His people wasn't messing with him like that. Some was, but the majority wasn't. So he came to Black America. It was Black America that got him popping.
Now, I mentioned that my champ is a Pan-African. He's also a Garveyite. Don't tell me you coming in, kicking down the door, taking aim at the champ. You know you got to get ranked.
I wouldn't even say I don't take aim at anybody. All I'm saying is that Marcus Garvey came to America to parlay with the Black Americans because Black Americans just got a different spirit about them. I'm not saying that we're better than anybody else. I'm not saying that at all. Every person, the only thing that makes another person superior to another person is what we call taqwa, the fear of Allah, a healthy fear of God, and not just scared. It's a fear of not being righteous. That's the only thing that separates individual people from each other.
Let me get to my penultimate question, brother. Let me get to this. Freemasonry has long been accused of hiding or concealing sacred knowledge behind symbols, allegory, hierarchy, etc. In your ideology, what purpose of concealment or secrecy when it comes to ancient, what is the purpose, I should say? What is the purpose of concealment or secrecy when it comes to ancient wisdom? And how do you determine who is ready for deeper knowledge?
The determiner, number one, I would say it depends on who are you studying under and what you're going from. Because if you are an example of classic Western Freemasonry, like Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, and Prince Hall, that would be different from a person who is more on Kemetic or Asiatic Freemasonry, or also what I call the ancient Freemasonry. There is a stark difference. The Shaitan, the devil, always takes and flips things around. Always. Whatever is good and that Allah expounds upon the world, Shaitan will always try to turn and twist. So say the Prophet Suleiman, for instance, right, who is a great figure in Freemasonry. Suleiman had power over the jinn, had power over otherworldly things and dimensions. Now, the powers of Suleiman, right? Would you teach that to a drugged out drug addict in the alley of somewhere? Would you teach him how to conjure and control demons and have an army of otherworldly figures? You wouldn't teach that person that, because number one, that person is not worthy of it at that stage in their life, and that person is not ready for it. So it is the same way with everything else. Certain things should always be hidden from the layman. And it's not that the layman can't have the information, it's that the layman is not ready for the information. You may have and I'll use this as an example. You got your military. Let's just take the US, your military, right? You may have your new cadet who just went to boot camp, just graduated from boot camp. He ready to finally go on base. You're not going to give him the nuclear secrets, are you? Even though he's an American, he's down for the cause. But you're not going to, hey, new cadet, here's the nuclear box. I want you to watch this for me. You're not going to give it to him. He's not ready for it.
I feel
so it's the same way. Freemasonry has twisted a lot of things, just like the original Freemasons used it to better their society and to better themselves, especially the man. It's been flipped around and used as a control grab for the world, and has been mixed with all type of deviltry. The same way as the so-called Hebrews of today. When I say so-called Hebrews, you know who I'm talking about. I'm just not going to say their name. You know, the Schmedium hats, they want to take the identity of being a Hebrew. We know that's not true.
Let me ask you a follow-up. Do you believe modern society suffers from spiritual malnourishment due to the loss or suppression of esoteric truth?
Absolutely. Because I say this to say this. Most people, like we were discussing earlier, a lot of lay people know nothing of the book of Jasher. And because they know nothing of the book of Jasher, they don't know that Abraham constantly went to see his son Ishmael, erected houses of worship of the one God with his son Ishmael. They know nothing about that. They just know of the one-way tunnel vision of what they've been taught of the Old Testament. And they don't look at the openness of not only interpretation, but the openness of revelation. Because the prophet Zoroaster is really known, as far as technical wise, as the first prophet. And the prophet Zoroaster was a true prophet. But you wouldn't know that if you got a tunnel vision and you think, okay, it only comes through this line for everybody on the earth. Well, if it only comes through this line for everybody on the earth, then God cannot judge a person harshly who is on the other side of the earth and has no idea that this family or this special family of prophets even exists.
Gotcha. This is my last question, and then we can open it up for the chat and let you answer a few questions from some of your would-be opponents and some of the audience members before we get up out of here. Many African Americans, or I should say many African American spiritual systems, focus on liberation, sovereignty, and identity restoration. How does your personal ideology empower the black man and woman spiritually, socially, and politically? And how does it challenge or build upon the doctrines of mainstream Islam, Christianity, or Western secularism?
I don't want to put off anybody's belief system, because if you truly believe you are a Hebrew Israelite, I will share the Islamic truth with you. But the Quran says there is no force, there is no compulsion in deen, in religion. I want you to be the best Hebrew Israelite that you can be. Adhere to the laws. Follow and read the wisdom. Understand what you are reading. I want you to be the best that you can be, because our modern day problem, to me, is an imbalance between material and spiritual, between higher knowledge of self and lower knowledge of carnal self. There's a imbalance. That is what's wrong with today's world. We are too materialistic, and there's nothing wrong with acquiring materials. But at the same time, you must understand that you will depart someday. So ultimately, your material worth is nothing, because when you pass away, that material worth will go to somebody else or get destroyed or whatnot. There's an imbalance there. So I want everybody on their own paths to be strong on that path. And even if you disagree with something, do as I say and eat the fish and spit out the bones. If there is a good tactic from another faith that you can adopt that doesn't involve you going against your creed and your principles, you should adopt it. There's nothing wrong with that. Do not be tunnel vision and say this is the only path, everything else is wrong. That is so what is wrong so much in this world today. I tell Muslims all the time. Muslims love to tell the Christian brothers and the Hebrew brothers, oh, your book, you have no original manuscripts from the Bible. Your book has been rewritten and da 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 da. I tell the Muslims, I say, hey, you're not too far behind, because you don't have an original Quran. You don't have the Quran that was put together by Imam Ali, that he carried and stayed in the house 6 months putting it together with revealed commentary. You don't have that Quran. And one of the reasons why you don't have that Quran is because when he brought it to the companions and gave it to them, they wanted nothing to do with it. And he told them, you will never see it again until the rise of the Mahdi. So the Quran that all the Muslims have is the Mushaf of Uthman, is the compilation of Uthman, which was the fourth caliph, which was a person who was never supposed to be in power in the first place. That's what all the Muslims today have. And the Quran that was compiled by Imam Ali was compiled in chronological order in which it was revealed, with the commentary of what it was talking about and who it was talking about. Imam Ali was adopted by the Prophet. He was the first male companion of the Prophet, on top of being his cousin. He was taught by the Prophet, born in the place that every Muslim prostrates in that direction of prayer to. So even if you don't accept Ali as number one, you still have to bow down and revere the place he was born.
All right, let me ask you this. In your eyes, what does true liberation look like for the descendants of the diaspora? Or I guess, and for you, it wouldn't be considered, or we wouldn't be considered descendants of the diaspora. I don't know what that would be called if you feel we were already here. But for Black Americans, or foundational Black Americans, what does true liberation look like?
Well, I believe that we should have a free agent mentality. And I'm saying that to say this. We don't need any centralized leaders anymore. You know, you will have your faith leader or somebody that you look up to, but we don't need this centralized leadership anymore. We need common goals among all of us that we all can agree to. Because, you know, when we have one centralized leader that everybody depends on for his knowledge, and everybody really just sits at that person's feet and really don't do nothing for themselves, their whole ideology and their movements is revolving around this one person. Well, when that one person gets taken out, when they become too powerful by the powers that shouldn't be, it's all chaos, and what they started just falls to the wayside. So we don't need one centralized leader. We need to be on code with certain agendas that we all agree on, because what's going to happen from the Lord is going to happen from the Lord to the powers that shouldn't be. But we need to be on code regardless of our religious differences. Just like Malcolm said, we need to leave our religion at the door. We can argue about that later. And I'm not saying that we can't, you know, have debates and talk amongst each other, but I'm talking about seriously argue about which path is the right path and how on that path we should go about observing its rights. We can argue about that later. We have a bigger goal, because if everybody gets compensated and gets liberated the way they want to, then we can come to the table and have these great theological debates. But when we are still in a way oppressed and what's not given to us from what is owed to us, everything else becomes irrelevant, because it doesn't matter if you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite, if you got that certain hue and somebody is on some BS from the dominant society, it's not gonna matter what you are. You could be a Christian. I've met a black Sikh. It doesn't matter what you are. They don't see that, and they don't care what you are. So our theological differences we can set to the side until we achieve autonomy and liberation for all of us. And what I mean by that is a firm hold on every aspect of our society, including our education, our children, our politics, our economics. We need to control all of that, and people need to understand that. I don't care what my brother's faith is, okay? As long as you're not outrightly worshiping the shaitan. I don't care what you believe in. You could be an atheist. I disagree with your line of thought. I will discuss with you why I disagree with your line of thought. I will come with my evidences, and I will listen to your evidences of why you believe or don't believe that there is a God or not. But I would much rather have us in power and doing what we need to do for our nation of people and worry about our theological differences later. Because at the end of the day, those theological differences is going to be settled once we die and once we enter into the afterlife.
Hey, brother, I got to tell you this in all seriousness. I respect that more than anything, because even though I'm a Christian and I'm not like, you know, I have some very different outlooks in a lot of ways than a lot of my Christian brothers and sisters on certain things. But I'm still reacclimating and learning more and more as we, you know, as I journey back into that path. But my personal philosophy is Black existentialism. And so regardless of religion, political affiliation, any of that comes secondary to the pushing forth the power of the Black collective. And so we can leave all that stuff at the door as long as we coming together with ideals and goals in mind that's going to push the Black collective forward and power. And so I respect that more than anything. I think, like I say at the beginning of the show, our personal ideology shouldn't keep us from uniting. I feel like all of that is irrelevant. That's personal to you. Like what you think personally is to you. I tell my Christian brothers and sisters all the time, like, what you eat don't make me, you know what I mean? Like, I can't get nobody to quote unquote heaven and they can't get me there. So this is personal business. We talking about the business of the overall collective of Black people. And so when we start arguing about that, it's more for show in these debates and all of that. And that's cool. I love it. But when we really start talking about what we're going to do to push us forward in power in the here and now, it don't mean nothing as far as I'm concerned. So I feel like everybody can come together and get those things figured out. So with that being said, go ahead, bro.
I just wanted to say, I see someone in the comments. One of the brothers says it's important to state what the Quran says and not what different sects or hadith say. The thing about Quran is that you can know what the Quran says, but number one, Arabic is a trilateral language, meaning that every word and sentence, depending on how it is said and who is it said to, can have anywhere between 3 and 7 different meanings. So when you are looking at this Quran and you are analyzing it, you have to have a guide. There are things in the Quran, a lot of things inside of the Quran that are very plain and very simple and easy to understand. And then there are esoteric things that is within the Quran that is not so easy to understand. The thing is, the Prophet left us with particular instructions of who to follow and who was the inheritor of his knowledge. And that thing is in the Quran. Some verses of the Quran, you will read it, and without knowing its proper context, you wouldn't even know what it was revealed for, or why it was revealed, or who it was revealed for. So it's just like if you picked up a free Masonic book, right? And you just picked it up and read it. Yes, you understand the words that are there, but there are deeper meanings that someone who is acquainted with that knowledge is going to be able to take from it that you are not even going to be able to see because you don't know. And that's with everything. So yes, we take what the Quran says, but you have to understand that every prophet had a successor. Every prophet had a successor. If you say that a prophet didn't have a successor, I don't know what prophet you are talking about. Because Adam had a successor. Moses had a successor. Abraham had a successor. Christ had a successor. Elijah had a successor. John the Baptist had a successor. Christ was the successor to John the Baptist. So if every prophet has a successor, who is your prophet Muhammad's successor? That's my question to you.
Oh, man. All right, brother. Are you ready to open this thing up, man? And hey, before y'all hit the link, before I put the link in the chat, I want you to know you got one question for the brother. The brother will then respond, and then you will make your exit. The brother is not here to debate. Now, for those who don't know, here in the Versus series, we actually pay our debaters. For standard debates, each debater makes $50. Excuse me, for title debates, for title matches, each debater still earns a particular fee. The challenger will receive $50. The defending champion will receive $100. Now, the reason this brother is not here to debate is because he has declared that he is a Versus series debater, which means from here on out, when he's on this platform, he gets paid to debate. I'm not prepared to pay him tonight. So he ain't debating nobody. And I definitely ain't paying y'all. So you get one question. He will respond to your question and you will see your way out, or you can stick around and we will move on. If we got more than one person up here, we'll move around, let them ask their question, and we'll come back to you so you can ask another one. But it's one question, one response, and then we move on or you exit. There will not be a back and forth debate. If you try to get into a back and forth debate, I will remove you because, again, I'm not paying the brother tonight. I'm not paying him until he has an actual versus series debate. Again, standard debates. Each participant gets $50. World title or social media title debates. The champion will get $100. The challenger will get $50. So when this brother gets an opponent, both he and his opponent will get $50. I'm not paying y'all. So link is in the chat. Come up and ask your questions. This is Paradigm Shift TV 314, home of the Versus series. We run a professional debate league. We have an earnings tier for our debaters. This is where the distinguished, undefeated, undisputed Versus series world champ Pandemus, the Pan-African atheist, calls home. And he is in the building. And before he speaks, y'all know what I gotta do. I gotta hit this button.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Champ, what's on your mind, man?
Peace and love to the channel, to you, DMG, to everybody in the chat, and welcome to the brother. Salute. I think you was on here cooking, bro. I think you was doing well. You definitely brought up a lot of stuff that got some folks in the chat a little rattled. I think you're going to have a wonderful time here at the Versus series, and I just wanted to welcome you, bro.
Appreciate you, champ. How you doing tonight?
So far, so good, family. How are you?
I can't complain. I got that AC in the window, so it's a little bit cooler on this end now. I was burning up earlier.
Okay, I don't want to say nothing else. I don't want to get kicked off. I'm going to shut up.
Hey, real quick, champ, can you let our brother know what he has in store in the Versus series debate league?
Oh yes, you can actually flip through the through the chat right there. I think you might have actually got somebody to actually decide they might want to debate. If I may, DMG, I could ask one of the questions that I saw in the chat. Is that okay?
Please do.
Okay, so one of the people wanted you to elaborate on the difference between Sunni and Shia, and it's QT. That's actually a sister. She was the one that asked.
Okay. The difference between Sunni and Shia Islam is akin to the example that I gave earlier. The example of Christ. When Christ left this realm, his successor was Peter, but the majority of the Christian world either was forced to or decided to follow Paul and his teachings of getting away from the law, eating what you wanted. Everybody's grafted in, vicarious atonement through Christ. All of those things came from Paul and not from Peter. The same thing happened but in Islam between Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. Shia Islam follows the rightful successor of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. It follows Imam Ali, who was the hero of every battle that the Prophet had and who married his daughter and was the only person to continue the Prophet's lineage and family line through the two sons born from that, Hassan and Hussein. The Sunni Muslims believe that anyone can become the Khalifa, even a bad person, even a tyrant can be a Khalifa, and it's obligatory on you to obey that Khalifa. In Shia Islam, we believe that it is actually obligatory upon you in whatever way and capacity that you can to fight that tyrant, whether it's through words, whether it's through deeds, whether it's actual physical, defense or whatnot. But it is upon the person to disagree with a tyrant 100% of the way. The Sunni Muslims follow the hanger-ons of the Prophet, the people who were supposed to be companions of the Prophet, but who seized power as soon as he passed away. He wasn't even buried in the ground yet. And instead of being by the Prophet and waiting for his burial to commence, they were off in another section of the city planning and plotting to see who was going to be the leader of the Muslims when the leader had already been appointed. So that is mostly the main difference between Sunni and Shia Islam. And it is the persons that we follow after the Prophet and who we get our religious knowledge from after the Prophet. The Sunnis get their religious knowledge from companions, and the Shia Muslims get their religious knowledge after the Prophet from his family, which is known as the Ahlul Bayt, which is Arabic for people of the house.
Can you pronounce that word again? The family, the companions, which is the what?
The Sunnis follow the companions, the people who were around the Prophet, whether they were supposed to lead or not. And we follow what is known as Ahlul Bayt, and that is spelled because it's a transliteration. So you can spell a transliteration pretty much however you want to. There's no exact way to spell it, but the most common spelling would be Ahlul, Ahlul, Ahlul hyphen Bait, Bayt, Bait. And Ahlul means family of or people of, and Bait means house.
Mm-hmm. Okay, check.
All right, there it is. The champ is here. And welcome to the Versus series. I'm going to put the link in the chat one more time. Since we don't have anybody else in here, champ, if you have any other questions for the brother, feel free to ask. If anybody else want to hit the link, please do. Otherwise, we will be letting this brother leave. That being said, the brother is in the Versus series. And if you want the smoke in the Versus series matchup, come in, make your challenge, and throw out a particular topic. The brother want all the smoke. He is called the Islamic Intimidator for a reason. So, if you got another question, champ, have it.
Yeah. So on the point of Pan-Africanism, FBAs, etc. It's not even a question. I just wanted to commend the brother on the way that he originally approached it. His very first answer was, as long as it's a two-way street, he supported. And I got to respect that 100% because, like Garvey said, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be some good, no good here. They're going to be no good there, meaning in the movement and in the world. So that's an, the open-minded approach to be able to actually work together with people. And then the brother made a good point, bringing up the quote that I was bringing up in my last debate about my Malcolm X saying, you know what I'm saying, when it's time for us to be dealing about race issues, man, you got to leave the argument about pretty much everything else at home, specifically religion, but everything else. If it's not about our people doing better, it's time out for everything else. So I just want to commend the brother, man. I think he did an excellent job on your show today. And I look forward to seeing you beat up on a couple of these guys in the Versus series.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got another brother or perhaps sister that has entered the panel. I'm not sure which is which, but state your name and what your question or comment is for the Islamic Intimidator.
Peace, King. And this is a brother. My name is Pam Mulattoism, and I'll get right to it. I actually wanted to make a comment. Well, two comments. Number one, I respect the Islamic Intimidator for, exposing the chinks in the armor that we call Islam. And I'm not sure if he addressed this yet, but their prophet, the one they called the Honorable Muhammad, he was literally a PDF file. For the sake of your stream, I won't say the exact word, but I
I
think everyone
appreciate
knows what
that.
I
I
mean.
appreciate that.
Yes, he literally married a 6-year-old, and he committed SA against that child when she was 9 years old. So I respect the Islamic Intimidator for his work. Additionally, as far as the foundational Black Americans, now me, I'm a foundational mulatto American, so it's not really it's not my position to speak on what Black Americans have going on, but I will say this: I do respect the foundational Black American movement because just like any other organism, the foundational Black American is attempting to, and it might be argued they are unsuccessful at it, but at least they're trying to, just like any other organism, they are attempting, and pardon me, I'm trying to ride my bike for exercise, they are attempting to protect their territorial integrity. Or in other words, just like we as US citizens, we cannot go to Ghana or Nigeria or Panama or Nigeria just because we are of African descent. We cannot go there illegally. So the FBAs have a right to be against mass immigration, especially mass illegal immigration. And literally, that's all I wanted to come up and say. Thanks for having me up, brother.
That'll
Now,
work. That'll work.
I would like to unpack
Go,
real
go ahead
quick
and
what the
respond,
brother
brother.
said.
Go ahead and respond.
Um, See, this is the issue. What you are talking about is the narrative that has been painted by Sunni Islam, because it is only in Sunni Islam where you find this so-called hadith tradition of the prophet marrying a 6-year-old girl. In Shia Islam, you find something different. Aisha's sister, her older sister, and who was a follower of the Imams and a staunch supporter of Imam Ali, which is one of the reasons why Bani Umayyah, the tribe of Umayyah, always treated her so bad after the Prophet's death. Aisha's older sister, and the hadiths that are related to her, tells you that she was 10 years older, exactly 10 years older than Aisha. And this is her sister. And she reports that, excuse me, she reports that her sister married the prophet when she was 28 years old. So if this sister is exactly 10 years older than Aisha, and she was 28 years old when Aisha married the prophet, that means that Aisha is 18 years old. This hadith that you see a lot of people expound upon and say that the Prophet Muhammad was a PDF file is only found in Sunni traditions. And this is because after the Prophet's death, you had the Bani Umayyah, who was the enemies of the Prophet, who the Prophet fought against. Bani Umayyah was the Quraysh and a lot of the other uniting tribes that were fighting against the Prophet, and they were pagans. This is the tribe that took hold and seized power upon the Prophet's death. And they spread a lot of false hadith and false narrations to justify their own behavior. So when you are quoting these things, these such things, it's like that narrative, you also must know the context of that narrative. And that is slander from the house of Umayyah toward the prophet. And the prophet's true successors and his family also concur and say that Aisha was 18 years old. And I do know of some traditions that say she was 16 years old. So, but that is still way older than the so-called Sunni tradition. So I would just ask that when you study things, study it from all points of view and don't just take one point of view, because the point of view that you are actually taking up is from the house that was enemies to the house of the prophet and his family.
All right, and brother, will I be able to respond, or are we moving on?
Please respond.
Yes, and I'll try to reduce my response time to make it brief for the sake of the dialogue. Number one, when I praise you for your work, because of your name being Islamic Intimidator, I thought you were here to intimidate the Islamicists, but clearly you're not. So I have to, with all due respect, I have to recant my initial praise that I gave you for your work. Secondly, and I'll land my plane with this: when we go to Saudi Arabia, this is the origin of the religion of Islam. The majority, virtually all of the Muslims in Saudi Arabia agree that Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 years old, and that he, what they call consummated, but that's a euphemism for SA. When I say SA, you all know what I mean. My point is, the majority of the Arabians in the birthplace of the religion of Islam agree that Muhammad was in his 50s when he married a 6 year old and
And what
had
are they?
SA, pardon me, when he committed SA against that same child when she turned 9 years old.
What
But
school of
go ahead.
thought are those people in Saudi Arabia for the majority? Do you know?
Well, just so I'm clear, brother, I'm not refuting the fact that they are Sunnis. I'm not refuting that at all. The point I'm making is the origin of the religion is Saudi Arabia. How are you, with all due respect, brother, as a black American, going to tell Saudi Arabians that they are wrong about their own prophet? How can you tell them that, brother?
Well, for one, it's not. It wasn't called Saudi Arabia in his time. It
No,
was
I'm not.
Arabia,
That's not the point I'm
and
making. Let's have the
I,
dialogue,
I,
brother.
I
Where
understand,
from?
but
Well,
I'm
go
just
ahead, brother.
answering back. And the reason why I can tell them is because I spent 2 years in Iran studying Shia Islam. I also spent some time in Iraq and Najaf, and
Yeah,
I
so
have a
just so
firm
we clear,
grip.
well, one step at a time. Are
Uh,
you aware that Iran and Iraq are not in modern day Saudi Arabia? In fact, they're not even on the
okay,
Arabian Peninsula.
real quick, my brother. I need you to just ask the question and let him respond. Remember, he's not here to debate tonight.
All right. Well, we don't even have to go back and forth. It'll be brief. This is for the listeners. For the listeners, you can either listen to this Black American about an Arab prophet, a person that Arabians call a prophet, or you can listen to the actual Arabians themselves, and they will tell you that Aisha was 5 years old when she was forcefully married to Muhammad, and she was 9 years old when she was SA'd by Muhammad.
You can also listen to the Shias that are in Arabia that will tell you that that was a lie. And according to the family of the prophet, and when I say family of the prophet, people like Imam Ali, who was there that whole time and was raised by the prophet, they say otherwise. So you can go and talk to the Arabians, but if you talk to the Sunni Arabians, yeah, they will take their hadith and they will justify it. If you
So,
talk to the Shia Arabians, they will tell you a whole different thing.
so just so we clear, brother, because I think uh, on this particular statement that I'm about to make, you'll be in agreement with me. So you agree that the majority, the vast majority of Arabians concede the fact that Muhammad married a 5 years old, pardon me, a 5 year old, and SA'd that same child when she turned 9, correct?
That is a Sunni opinion and
No, no,
thought.
no.
So
I'm not
yes,
even talking about denomination. I'm just asking a simple question. You
All
agree
right,
that the majority,
all
because the
right.
majority of Arabians are Sunnis, so you agree that the
right.
So,
majority of Arabians concede.
What's your question, brother? And then he gonna answer it, and we're
Yes,
gonna get
it'll
ready
be.
to wrap
It's
this up.
very linear. It's very linear because he's trying to deflect to denominations. The
I'm
point
I'm
is,
not. Well,
well,
denomination
let
is
me let
there's
me ask you a
going to
question.
be a
Let me ask you a
difference.
question.
Just go ahead and ask your question, and then the brother gonna answer, and we're
Yes,
gonna get
sir.
ready to wrap this
And
thing up.
to the brother, I don't want to make this a contentious discussion. This is for the edification of the listeners. The question is this: aside from denomination, because we already know that the majority of Arabians are Sunnis. My point is, you agree and admit that the majority of Arabians concede the fact or acknowledge the fact that Muhammad married a 5-year old and S8 that child when she turned 9, correct?
That is their opinion because they are Sunnis. I, on the
Meaning,
other hand,
so you admit that they.
On the other hand, am not a Sunni. And the
Yeah,
Prophet's
no, I'm
family,
not. I'm not even
li-
asking you about that.
listen. The Prophet's family says otherwise. So, am I going to believe in Saudi Arabian, who the Prophet even predicted himself that the European Turks and the European Persians would overtake Islam to the point where a true dark Arab will be rarely seldom seen among them? Am I going to take what they say, or am I going to take the actual successors to the prophet who he appointed and
And
named by name? I
let me
think I'm
answer
going to
that.
go with the true
All right.
successors of the prophet who
And
let us know and who told the Ummah, the nation, from Aisha's sister's mouth herself, that Aisha was married to the prophet when her older sister was 28 years old. Her older sister is anywhere in most traditions it says 10 years older than Aisha. I have seen some traditions that say 8 years older than Aisha. But everybody, even the Sunnis, agree with us Shia that she was 8 to 10 years older than Aisha. So if she was married to the prophet while her older sister was 28 years of age, that puts Aisha anywhere between the ages of 16 and 18. And when we look at the history of
well,
Bani
brother,
Umayyah,
well,
when we
please,
look at the
one mic at a
history
time, brother.
of Bani
Respectfully.
Umayyah,
All right, go
they
ahead.
had a history of marrying young women. The
All
prophet
right.
did not.
Well, with all due respect, you're using a filibustering tactic. I asked a simple linear question, and you attempted to evade it. You
I
admit
didn't evade
that.
anything. You
So you
want
admit.
you
Well, brother,
you
one mic at a time. Look how
you
long you just spoke, brother.
Okay,
Please.
okay, real quick. Let
Yes.
me do
All
this.
right,
My
go ahead.
my my, my brother Pan Mulatto, I would love for you to return and further uh demonstrate what it is you're saying. Perhaps if you are willing to come into the versus series as a debater, maybe y'all could even debate this topic. But even if you didn't and you wanted to come on and just do a show where you put forth this information, I would love to hear it. In the meantime,
Yeah.
this is this brother's entry into the channel and to the versus series. I don't want to get bogged down on
No,
one
I get it. Can I say
particular
something in
talking
closing and then
point.
drop down? Can I say something in closing
So
and
so
drop down?
yeah, close
Thank you.
out, make it as quick as you
Yeah,
can, and
it'll
then
be
we're gonna
brief.
get back to the
It'll be
brother.
brief. I never filibuster. It'll be brief. Actually, my point has been made. The majority of Arabians will tell you that Muhammad married a 5-year-old and essayed that child when she turned 9 years old. And to the brother that I just had a dialogue with, I wasn't in this dialogue to put you in a headlock. This is just for the edification of the listeners. But thanks for having me up. Much love to you both, and the third person on the
All
panel.
right,
Much love.
all
Peace.
right, peace, brother. All right, champ. Do you have any closing remarks before we let the brother respond and close out?
Nothing. I would like to say I think you handled those questions pretty well. Um, Very interesting. And like I said, man, I look forward to you knocking off some folks in the versus series. I'll be interested to see it.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and
It's nice meeting you, Chap, and I can't wait till we have some debates ourselves.
there it
Yeah.
is. There it is. Hey, and I see a certain devil peeking his horns out the bushes. The Versus series is live in 2025, y'all. I see a certain devil peeking his horns out the bushes. So y'all beware, there is a devil in our midst. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He go by the Scholastic Bully. That being said, my brother, ISO on you. Please respond to some of the things the brother was saying and close this thing out.
Well, that's I've kind of seen that tactic for a while, man. The brother called himself pan mulattoism, so I already know he has a conflict of the two different energies that's within himself fighting each other. So I can kind of expect him to be that way, but it's all it's all good. We all have our differences in views. I just encourage everybody to do what Noble Drew Ali said and study, study, study. And when you're done with that, study some more. And after you're done studying some more, after you study, 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 study yourself. And I encourage people to seek knowledge, even if it be in China. Eat the fish and spit out the bones. Take what you can use in a righteous way that will not corrupt your own principles and throw everything else to the wayside. I appreciate you having me up here. I look forward to talking with the people and exchanging information and challenging people's thoughts and having people challenge my thoughts. I am open to everyone under the act of righteousness and seeking knowledge. To that, I thank you, my brother, and the people and the personage behind Paradigm Shift TV for having me up here today. I wish everybody a good health and lots of righteousness on our way to our ultimate destination, which is reuniting in the afterlife with our source and our creator. So to that, I say everyone have a good night. Salam alaikum, shalom, peace, papakute lalabute to the family. And I love you all until we meet and talk again.
There it is. Shout out to this brother. Assalamu alaikum. Islam and whatever other peaceful idiom I can provide for this brother. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on. Appreciate you throwing your hat in the Versus Series ring, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do from a competitive standpoint. Love the interaction between you and the champ. Love the back and forth between you and the Pan Mulatto brother. This is going to be interesting to see you get into the competition, and I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of interest from the brothers and sisters in the Versus Series as it relates to you getting in the ring. If you have a Facebook, I don't know if we already exchanged that, but if you do, hit me up so I can add you to all the back chats that we have popping off. And you can get engaged with some of the other debaters. We might have already did all that. I can't remember. But if we didn't, let's do that. That being said, family, I keep saying it. The Versus Series is live in 2025. We doing this thing, and we're going to continue to do it. This is a professional debate league. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I think I see my sister Lindsay. No, my sister Tiffany was in the building. Shout out to Lucifer, the devil. My man Joshua in the building. Shout out to Khalil, Ray, and everybody else in the chat, particularly my brother, the anonymous Hebrew. I see he's been throwing a little bit of a warning to my champ. I think he's ready to come back, and it's going to be kind of bad for some people. So listen. Paradigm Shift is where it is. The Versus Series is where it's at. And we are here to stay. Shout out to everybody that watch. Shout out to everybody that's catching it on the replay. The Islamic Intimidator has entered the Versus Series. Pandemus, the Pan-African atheist, is still the reigning defending Versus Series champion. And look, we still got a whole social media title tournament to get done. Shout out to my man, Hemi. He is the first person who declared his interest in that thing. So listen, y'all stay tuned, man. We will be back at it again Friday. We will have this month's top 10 contenders for Pan's title. And y'all know what it is, man. Stay tuned. Congratulations on joining the Versus Series, brother. We look forward to you getting in the competition, man. And this is going to be powerful, man. Shout out to the Craigs, the architects of the Versus Series, the brothers who brought my channel from mediocrity to relativity. And shout out to all the haters as well. As long as y'all hate, we relevant. Y'all come back Friday and check out that top 10 show, man. See who in the top 10, see who got knocked out, all that good stuff, man. Did A1 and Quinn both get in the top 10? We gonna find out. All right, y'all. Y'all come back Friday. We gonna do this thing. Versus Series is live in 2025. I'm getting tongue-tied. I guess I've been drinking too much. Paradigm Shift TV is where it's at. Salute. That's peace. Next word y'all hear is going to be that of the musical messiah, Neo Love. And as my sister says, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We out.
Yeah. I know I got about 30 seconds to make y'all feel it before y'all turn it off these days. That I might not even release this. But I be doing this shit for me. Help me get through. I feel like I give until I can't, but most don't recognize until I ain't. Blood on them covers, she hoping paint. Sorry mama, but it ain't. This world took a toll on me, and everyone that say they love me always seem to follow me. The same one that call me great, treat me like I ain't shit. I read between the lines, it's written all over your eyes. I see the disappointment in the eyes of the ones who want me dead, but I ain't never been scared, I tried to get there. Sometimes I wonder if I survived or did I die on that ride to that hospital. Demons all around me, I am not mental. This game of life, it is not simple. Last time I was happy, I was popping pills.